Hi, my name is Ken from the ProTech Academy. Today, we'll be having a presentation on look lazy but be productive. Now, there is a huge difference between looking productive and being productive. It's one I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self about 7 years ago. Now, in my experience, I had these big ambitions. I was going to run my own online business and be successful. Unfortunately, I didn't have any direct role models of people who had already done what I wanted to do. I could only read about them. The inference I made is that most successful people are incredibly productive. But because I had never met any of them, I had to guess what that would be like. And like many people, I assumed that meant ruthless focus and monastic self-discipline. So I tried to emulate that model. I tried to avoid anything that looked unproductive, like watching television, drinking, or relaxing. I replaced them with reading, work, and exercise, all things I had associated with being productive. It's probably obvious I was no fun at parties. And according to Walter Chrysler, he said that whenever there is a hard job to be done, I assign it to a lazy man. He's sure to find an easy way of doing it. Now, the definition of laziness is a fairly underrated virtue. Its synonym made the short list of deadly sins, the sloth, and it is often seen as the major culprit behind a lack of success. He's smart but he lacks discipline. I happen to think the opposite. Laziness for me is quite often means efficiency, and when you combine laziness with a strong drive, you end up with the desire to find the most efficient solution possible. I've been called lazy more than a few times. Laziness allows me to ask questions that nose to the grindstone types would completely avoid. Here is a short list of important questions that lazy people ask of themselves that other people don't. Just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? What am I trying to get out of this? Is this the best way to get this done? What would happen if I didn't do it at all? Now, I've been called lazy a few times by hardworking people simply because I ask those questions when they refuse to. Now, I don't do tasks that don't have any apparent value. I'm ruthless in seeking a more efficient method to do something, and I challenge assumptions about what has to get done. And the first time I read about the concept of productive laziness was on Peter Taylor's website on the Lazy Project Manager, where he advocates the use of a lazy approach at work to achieve a better balance with personal life. And for me, obviously, when it is said that laziness is a manifestation of the fundamental nature of intelligence, it is not just about the kind of laziness that leads you to spend all day lying on the couch watching TV, but rather the kind of laziness which drives you to look for shortcuts and creative solutions in order to get things done with the least amount of effort. And in the internet age, this form of productive laziness has further increased, and it is becoming a natural behavior pattern for the new digital generation. This laziness has a lot to do with our instincts. The information out there on the internet is so vast that we need to develop the mechanism to search, filter, and get results efficiently. Now, we're able to find what we want on Google, right? But just by typing a couple of accurate words, we're able to skim a very long article to quickly find the information we need, hidden in one of its paragraphs. Now, this sort of activity, in which our brain is always looking for the shortest path, allow us to develop more complex thought structures. In a word, it makes us smarter. Perhaps in a sense, being productive has something to do with being lazy. Would you prefer to complete 3 tasks that have a good impact on your work and then go for a walk by the beach, or carry out 10 non-significant tasks, and as a result, you have no time for anything else? Isn't that the Pareto principle? Simply another expression of productive laziness? Now, perhaps in a world where people move from one thing to the next without even thinking, lying down for a while still awake of course, in order to reflect may actually help you perform actions more efficiently. Perhaps your laziness really can be a motivator to find ways to make things better. So for this presentation on Look Lazy, Be Productive, is that first, we'll be having an introduction on laziness helps you refocus on what is most important. And then we'll head over on laziness plus drive equals to productivity. And then after that, we'll tackle on laziness beats willpower and efficiency anytime. And then we'll tackle also to how to unleash the laziness within you. And then we'll discuss on the emperor that has no clothes isn't getting work done. And then right after that, we'll also discuss on looking versus being productive. And then after that, we'll head over to work hard but have fun too. Then lastly, I'll give you 2 reasons success while enjoying life isn't a contradiction. So, are you excited? Let's head over to Laziness Helps You Refocus on what is most important. Laziness helps you refocus on what is most important. Now, being slothful in my approach to goal setting allows me to cut away anything that doesn't have to be done. In working on big goals, this is crucial skill if you want to achieve them. Hardworking people can end up spending days, weeks, or months on one element of a goal only to realize that there was an available solution that could have taken less than half the time. When working on my interactive goal setting program, I started by designing my own interface code. But a few days into writing it, laziness kicked in and I couldn't help feeling highly inefficient. Sure enough, there was a plugin I could buy for a little over $20 that offered the basic functionality I needed. But you know what? Laziness actually encourages diffuse thinking. Our mind has 2 modes of thinking, the diffuse mode and the focus mode of thinking. We need to maintain the constant oscillation between the 2 modes in order to be our most creative and productive. Mind wandering, a form of diffuse thinking, is a useful mechanism for our brains to process information and sometimes leading to a non-obvious solutions. Another benefit of letting our mind wander without paying any attention to a productive task is a higher focus on long-term goals. According to a study published by Consciousness and Cognition, a bit of lazy time today for a more productive time tomorrow. Being productive allows you to appear unproductive. The reality is, the people who have the least fun aren't the most productive. There are the people trying to look productive, the students who spend their lives in the library to look like they're working hard, the office drones who stay late every evening even though their output is dwindling. These people, like I once did, confuse being productive with looking productive. And at the end of the day, your boss, professor, or team members care about results, not how hard you appear to be working. The impression I give on this presentation is that I'm productive. I'd say it's more or less a fair one, although there are many people more prolific than me. But if you talk to anyone who knows me personally, that's probably isn't the surface impression they have. They know me as the guy convincing people to go to parties and who never appears to be working at all. It isn't that I'm lying to them or to you, it's simply that I don't care about appearances. I aim for ruthless efficiency in my working life so that I can enable me to be relatively carefree and fun-loving in my personal life. So, what am I trying to say? This uncertain time can make you feel anxious and as though you have no control. So we turn to our usual methods of coping with uncertainty, to-do list, and productivity to make progress. But this pose could be our biggest opportunity for growth if we're willing to be uncomfortable and sit with the loss and not knowing. Being unproductive may just produce the biggest change in ourselves and our outlook in life. Now, as an author, a tip from me for relaxing the demands on our time, thinking, and relationships to give our bodies, minds, and spirit a chance to recognize and discover who we might become. Laziness plus drive leads to productivity. Lazy people aren't lazy all the time. Unless the person has extremely low energy, even the laziest people still find time to surf the web, play games, or socialize with friends. A lot of lazy people aren't really lacking willpower, just some motivation. Without a compelling drive, being disciplined just makes you look busy to outside observers when you really aren't getting anything done. Laziness only becomes apparent because without a strong drive, Slothful people stop doing just about anything not necessary for survival or enjoyment. Now, to be honest, I'm a lazy person at heart. Even though I woke up a little after 5 a.m. to make this presentation and finish another chapter or course, deep down, I am a very lazy person. I need a compelling drive to keep me busy. Without a strong drive, I would lay all day in my bed until afternoon and watch television. But once you create that drive, either through explicitly setting goals or opening your imaginations to new possibilities, laziness becomes a tool and not a curse. Instead of using your laziness to avoid work, use it to maximize your resources. And sometimes, our drive and motivation to be more effective can come from unexpected places, whether it's traits that may be perceived as negative like introversion or constraints on our time and resources. You may find those are your secret weapons after all. Tackling difficult assignments means working as effectively as possible, using all the resources you have to achieve more. Being truly effective requires looking beyond the work itself, and instead at how you're getting your work done. Here are some ways that you can channel the realities of human nature and today's work environment to be more creative, innovative, and work more effectively. First is to channel your laziness. To use your potential frustration and laziness to your advantage, observe and make a note of things that irritate or frustrate you throughout your day. While it may seem that some of those irritations are beyond your control, there are always opportunities to improve the ways we do things. Second is embrace your constraints. A research that suggests that individuals, teams, and organizations can innovate more effectively by embracing the constraints they face. Constraints can foster innovation when they represent a motivating challenge and focused efforts on a more narrowly defined way forward. Next, we have do one thing at a time. Studies also shows that multitasking doesn't actually help us getting anything done faster. In fact, one researcher showed that people doing two tasks simultaneously took up 30% longer and made twice as many errors as those who completed the same task in sequence. Laziness beats willpower and efficiency anytime. Willpower has its place, but for every drop of willpower you exert, there should be a ton of laziness that has been used before it. If you're having to use excessive willpower to reach a goal, often it is because you either haven't created enough drive or you haven't used enough laziness to discover a more efficient path. I'm using laziness as more than just a synonym for efficiency. Efficiency is good, but often trying to be efficient doesn't really ask the right questions. Simple efficiency asks, how can I do this better? Is it true laziness that asks, why am I doing this in the first place? Now, as a holistic learner, I've never been big on studying. While everyone around me chastised me for laziness, I didn't ask, how can I study better? I asked myself, why I should bother to study at all? If I didn't need to, there wasn't much point in spending time and exerting willpower for a similar grade. True laziness takes a bit of courage as well. It can be very difficult for a hardworking person to admit to themselves that they just wasted a bunch of time and energy on something that doesn't really matter. Lazy people are actually high efficient. There are a famous quote going around that says, I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. Truth. Why waste time with unnecessary motions? And this quote goes back to Frank B. Gilbert. While watching Bricklayers, he found that the laziest guy was actually the really most efficient. Gilbert resulting inventions increase productivity and efficiency in terms of construction, manufacturing, and medicine. And if someone accuses you of being lazy, just say, I believe you meant to say highly efficient. Also, napping is just the key to being more productive. Not only did the New York Times claim that sleep is the new status symbol, but a University of Michigan study also found that taking a nap at work would increase positivity and tolerance. Did your spreadsheet with hours of work just crash on you again? Instead of getting mad, go take a nap. First, you can't feel frustrated if you're sleeping. Second, you could wake up feeling a lot less troubled. Then, another thing is that smart people are more likely to be lazy. And being lazy also means being realistic. Laziness isn't the same as depression actually, and laziness isn't necessarily a bad thing. Believe it or not, there may be an upside to this synonym of depression. A recent small study found that people with depression in a lab setting spent less time on unsolvable problems. Now there's a blessing in giving up. Then another is that being lazy is a free health and wellness tool. Let your mind wander into creative zones for free by being lazy. It's zero time, zero effort, and $0 spent on this wellness tool. Another thing is being lazy means you're probably having fun. There's a reason binge watching Netflix is preferred way for many people to spend their Saturday nights. What's more fun? Getting dressed up in night-tight clothing, wearing uncomfortable shoes, spending a lot of money and trying to shout above loud music, or snuggling at home on the sofa in jammies, right? So the next time you feel overwhelmed by all the things on your to-do list, instead of plunging headfirst into your task, take a break and be a little lazy. Ultimately, your body and mind will thank you for it. Unleash the laziness within you. Be really lazy today. Whenever you have to do something, follow it up with the question, why? If you can't come up with a good answer, then don't do it. If it is a necessity for your job or survival, find the most efficient way to get it off your schedule. Delegate to someone else, or find a way to get it done as soon as possible so you can move to more important things. The best productivity tactics are the ones that, for every minute we invest in them, we make that time back, and then some. They allow us to accomplish that much more and work that much more efficiently. I include laziness in this category. When we're idle, it doesn't look like we're doing much, but mentally, the exact opposite is true. Chances are, you should be lazy more often, whether it's to give your brain a rest, dig up insightful ideas, or plot future plans. Sometimes, the best way to make stuff happen is by doing nothing at all. Another thing is that most people actually see laziness as an enemy of productivity. For them, it's counterintuitive to be lazy and simultaneously be productive. Well, like I said, I'm a very lazy person, and by lazy I mean I have a very low energy to physically move out from my space if not necessary. And just yesterday actually, I sat at my computer for legit 3 hours to come up upon the fact that there's enough DNA in the average human's body to stretch out from the sun to Pluto and back 17 times. Totally useful knowledge. And apart from that, I run 2 online businesses since 3 years ago to date. I have side job as an editor, a freelance virtual assistant, a graphic designer, and most recent thing is I'm trying to be a writer on this platform. So if you see the pattern, all my productive activities seem only to require my computer and my brain to do so. Talking about the brain, technically speaking, our brain is lazy too. The human brain comprises 60% of fat and is one of the fattest organs in the human body. And unlike our muscles, which can store excess carbohydrates, our lazy brain needs to be constantly supplied with oxygen and energy to run properly. But guess what? Our brain is the most productive organ in our body. It controls and coordinates everything by being lazy. So meaning, laziness is a natural part of us. Therefore, if you think you've never been lazy in your entire life, you still have a brain. Meaning, there's laziness inside you. It's an advantage to the brain, and so to you, if you know how to use it in the right ways. And even if you're not as lazy as I am, you still can take advantage of the laziness side in you to be more productive and avoid getting burnt out. So what I'm trying to say is that laziness is not an enemy of productivity. Many studies have already shown that it can help you be more productive. No matter how counterintuitive it seems, laziness is beneficial to improve our work-life balance as we give our body and mind the opportunity to recharge. And moreover, many great influential people were also said to be incredibly lazy. like Einstein, Newton, Picasso, Mendeleev, and others, and yet they achieve unbelievable success and become well known all over the world. Now, to be honest, I'm no great thinker. We can't all be geniuses, but we can learn from them. Besides, a study said geniuses made with hard work, not born. And hard work is, well, hard, but it's not impossible. Those people are proof that we can use laziness as a well-placed conscious tool to achieve greatness in life. The emperor has no clothes on isn't getting work done. The scary part of being lazy is it leaves you naked. You no longer have your insulating cone of busyness to make you feel productive. The work you do actually has to mean something in order to get done. Instead of relying on willpower, you rely on drive. So strip away your delusions of productivity by using this most underrated virtue. Looking versus productive. Sometime later, I started to actually meet successful people. Much to my surprise, they weren't the Randian titans of discipline and focus. In fact, many of them were the opposite, drinking, relaxing, and full of vices. But even more surprisingly, they still get a lot done. Even though they hardly abstain from enjoying life, they got away more than I could. It was around this time I realized the difference between looking and being productive. Being productive means getting work done. It means being efficient and focused when you work, but it doesn't mean anything about your off hours. It sure feels like we are busier than ever before, and these days it feels like no one has free time to do anything. We run late for meetings, grab lunch on the go, and home later. Do you feel like you're struggling to keep up? Well, I can actually relate. So I'm working on becoming less busy and more productive. The most productive and efficient people are those that they own their day versus letting their day own them. They work to maximize their time to be as productive as possible, not just being busy. And on this part, let's explore the difference between busy and productive people. Now, there's a huge difference between being busy or looking busy and being productive. You can be busy all day and still feel like you're behind on accomplishing your goals. Have you ever spent hours clearing your inbox only to emerge without having actually completed your goals for the day? How about clearing 75% of your long to-do list without getting the two really important things completed? You were really busy, but were you productive? A productive person, I like to think of being moving the ball a few inches closer to the goal every single day. Imagine you're creating a side hustle blog or a presentation and trying to build a strong following. You want that presentation and running by Friday. As a productive person, you might do the following. On your first day, you would include buying a domain name or creating a website. On second day, you would be dedicated to strategizing your message and branding. On the third day, you might consist of writing the first presentation post. And then on the fourth day, you would be learning how to upload it to your newly designed site. Then boom! This is what it looks like to be action-oriented and result-driven. It might not be perfect, but it's up and running. But a busy person, think of the same scenario, but this time instead of being productive person, you're just a busy person. The busy person spend all their time doing research, trying to learn all the possibilities, creating a long to-do list, and trying to make things perfect before they start. They can spend days without nothing tangible to show for their time and effort. But busy people tend to be overthinkers, and they have an incredible ability to expand their task to the amount of the time they have available. The busy person starting a presentation would likely take 3 times the amount of time and effort of a productive person, all the while complaining that they don't have enough time to get anything done. And busy people tend to be great at looking busy, whereas productive people are simply getting it done. A productive person list to do does not include something like call Samantha about the reports because they've already called her and handled it. No wasting time, no dilly-dallying and putting something on a to-do list just to look at later. Consider it done. And sometimes, being productive allows you to appear unproductive. And what do I mean by this? The reality is, the people who have the least fun aren't the most productive. They're the people trying to look productive. The students who spend their lives in the library to look like they're working hard, the office drones who stay late every evening even though their output is dwindling. These people, like I once did, confuse being productive with looking productive. And at the end of the day, your boss, professor, or team members care about results, not how hard you appear to be working. The impression I give on this presentation is that I'm productive. I'd say it's more or less a fair one, although there are many people more prolific than me. But if you talk to anyone who knows me personally, that probably isn't the surface impression they have. They know me as the guy convincing people to go to parties and never appears to be working at all. It isn't that I'm lying to you or to them. It's simply that I don't care about appearances. I am for ruthless efficiency in my working life so that can enable me to be relatively carefree and fun-loving in my personal life as well. Work hard but have fun too. During the previous challenges that I have experienced, I've been working up to 60 hours per week, much of it on hard focus activities like watching lectures at twice the speed or reading textbooks. I've also shared as much as possible about my working routines and the learning techniques I'm using. But that hasn't stopped my personal life. I still go out for drinks at least once per week, meet people, go on dates, exercise. Now, presentation, my friend, who recently came to stay with me for a week, said he was surprised by how relaxed I seem. Now, I say this not to brag that I have achieved some nirvana work-life balance or that I have some exceptional ability. Many if not most of the successful people I know have similar tendencies. They stop worrying about looking productive, get their work done, and enjoy life as much as possible. The goal of productivity and all the ideas I try to teach isn't to become a monk who can work non-stop without tiring. It's to get a lot accomplished in spite of not being monk-like. Now, I respect the person who can calmly execute projects more than the person who constantly complains about working too much. A fun atmosphere encourages energetic, enthusiastic associates who want to come to work each day to enjoy each other's company. We enjoy the positive energy every individual brings and believe in sharing this attitude with our customers and suppliers. We sponsor events and activities that build relationships both in and out of the workplace. Now, together, working hard and having fun open doors to achievement, success, and fulfillment. When we give our best, we show respect for our customers and ourselves. Working hard and having fun actually reveals our potential, our character, and our passion. They are proof that we care about what we do and who we are. They demonstrate our commitment and to our company or in our workplace. Research has shown that happy people tend to be healthier, more inspired, productive, and satisfied in their job. Taking out some time of your time to have fun or having fun while you work is needed to keep your mind fresh and active and ensure you have productive work day. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having fun after work. It is needful to have fun after working and putting in the long hours. This is needed to break the monotony. This in turn will inspire your creativity, help you avoid burnout, and foster teamwork between you and your co-workers. Because it's not unheard of that you can have fun after working hard. Everybody, no matter who you are in the organization or your position, you need to have that work-life balance in order to be successful in whatever field you find yourself. 2 reasons success while enjoying life isn't a contradiction. Part of the problem is our entire conception of work, and life puts them at odds. We talk about work-life balance as if the two things were weights on a scale that too much work or too much fun would ruin the equilibrium. The first reason this scale metaphor holds little weights is that productivity can't be stripped from the human element. Most of the successful people I know owe much to having built extensive social networks. It's a lot harder to make friends if you never have fun. The second is that fun replenishes the very mental energy you need to work. I take a day off every week, which often means going to a party and sleeping in, even when I'm incredibly busy. The reason is that even though taking time off looks lazy, it results in higher performance work, which more than pays for its cost. Perhaps the image of me being a serious, humorless workhorse is a remnant of my days where that probably would have been an apt description. Or maybe it's a feature of the topics I like to write about. I have many articles or presentations about my work philosophy, and none telling the story of how I was attacked by gypsy dogs walking back drunk from a party in France. However, I think part of it's simply because someone who hasn't developed productive habits, it's difficult to conceptualize a way of getting work done that doesn't require unending hours of grueling labor. But the concept of productivity isn't at odds with being relaxed, they're almost synonymous. That's it for this presentation on Look Lazy, Be Productive. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on my email, on Skype, and on my phone number. Once again, my name is Ken from the ProTech Academy. Thank you for listening.